The May 20th Board of Education meeting is now in session. Please rise for the invocation. O God, we pray to administer that which is just in all educational policies, being ever mindful of your guidance, stir us to action with love, wisdom, and understanding. The Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2.03, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 2.04, establish agenda order. The agenda stands as published. Item 2.05, board recognitions. Kathy Herbert.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Herbert, Acting Associate Superintendent, and I have the pleasure of introducing this evening's board's recognition. But before I begin, I would like to ask the members of the board and Dr. Olato to please come forward. Members of the board and Dr. Olato, for the past few years, our school system has established for secondary counselors a goal to increase scholarship opportunities for graduating seniors. We're pleased to say that scholarship money for Anne Arundel County Public School students increased by $26 million last year over the year before, to over $136 million in offers. Yes, wow. In addition, African American students saw a 10.5% increase in scholarship money. We don't have all the totals for the current school year, but today's honorees will certainly help boost those numbers, and they provide further proof of the outstanding young men and women who are graduating from our schools. North County High School student Chloe Diggs and Old Mill High School student Christopher Umazor each claimed one of the 1,000 prestigious Gates Millennium Scholarships awarded annually by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Just as impressively, Glen Burnie High School student Desmond Beggerly has been named the Boys and Girls Club of America's State Youth of the Year for the second time. With that comes direct scholarship money and a chance to win tens of thousands of additional money for college over the next few weeks. Chloe and Christopher are two of only 15 such scholarships awarded to Maryland students this year, but they continue the streak for our school system. This is the fourth straight year that our county has had at least one Gates recipient. Part of the reason for the scholarship increases I spoke of a minute ago has been our counselors' enhanced involvement in the process. Rather than just telling the students how to apply for scholarships, our counselors have helped them fill out applications, showed them how to follow up the process, and given them advice on which scholarship programs work best for their educational goals. Quite simply, we're much more hands-on these days in assisting our students. With college tuition costs increasing every year, each dollar we help find in scholarship money is potentially one less dollar needed through college loans, and in many cases, the difference between going to college right out of high school or putting it off to a future date. The three students we are honoring this evening are shining examples of how students and school counselors can team up to create these incredible opportunities. The scholarships earned by Chloe, Desmond, and Christopher come about through hard work and a grueling nomination and interview process. In the end, it was Chloe and Christopher's academic success, leadership qualities, and involvement in extracurricular activities that gained them each a scholarship worth up to $1 million towards their undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate work. Chloe plans to attend Georgetown University to major in government and possibly environmental science. She wants to eventually earn her doctorate degree. Christopher, who couldn't attend tonight, is undecided on what he will study in college, but he will attend either Princeton, Penn, or Notre Dame. The goal of the Gates Scholarship Program, founded by a $1.6 million grant from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, is to promote academic excellence and to provide an opportunity for outstanding minority students with significant financial need to reach their highest potential. Desmond is the salutarian of his class and plans to major in nuclear energy at University of Maryland, College Park. He was also accepted at Princeton and several other universities. He will receive a $5,000 scholarship from being State Youth of the Year and will go on to compete in the regional event August 5th in New York City for a chance to win a $10,000 college scholarship, which is renewable each year for up to $40,000. 5 regional winners will advance to Washington, D.C. in September to compete for the title of National Youth of the Year. The winner will receive an additional scholarship of $25,000, renewable each year of up to $100,000, and will have the opportunity to meet the President at the White House. So we are certain that we will be hearing great things about Chloe, Christopher, and Desmond in the years to come. As Chloe and Desmond come forward, please join me in congratulating these outstanding students on their success and on the outstanding way they represent their high schools and our school system. Yay.
She's gonna start with the two of you, and that's for the photo, and then she's gonna do slide that. Okay, slide that.
Now we'll do each of you individually, so just.
Close your eyes.
There we go. There now. Chloe, right here. Sit over there. Perfect, thank you. Thanks, Greg.
The next item on our agenda is 2.06, School and Community Highlights. Mrs. Nally.
Well, this is a busy time of year, and probably, I think, all board members will agree, just exciting time when we get to go to the celebrations and look at all of the accolades that our students and our teachers are receiving. I was lucky enough to attend the STEM Awards ceremony, which honor graduating seniors and who exemplify STEM student excellence, and the K through 12 teachers who inspired them. Mrs. Ritchie and I were there, and each time I've attended this ceremony, one of the pieces that's so important is the top winners select a teacher from middle through high school that really inspired them, and they give a short talk on what made that teacher stand out and why that teacher really made a difference out of all their teachers. And I will tell you, it's a tearjerker every time. The teachers are crying, the students, I mean, it's really something, but it's a very exciting opportunity. Also, I attended the volunteer recognition tea with other board members, and it's always exciting to see how many volunteers we have and what it means to our county, and it was just a fantastic event. I also went on to Baltimore with Dr. Arlotto and attended the Teacher of the Year recognition from the Teachers of the Year from all over the state. They were recognized at the Maryland State Department of Education, and also went to a luncheon. Our own Jenny Merrill from Severna Park Elementary was recognized, and it was quite wonderful to see the energy and the teachers in that room. So that's the few of the things I've done the last couple of weeks, but I know every board member has been doing the same kind of thing. It's a fun time of year for us. Thank you.
Mrs. Ritchie?
I had the opportunity to attend the LDI, which is the Leadership Development Institute graduation. This is our sixth cohort that's gone through that. This is a collaboration with the 21st Century Education Foundation, which is the 501c3 for the school system, and Anne Arundel County Public Schools. It's business, community, and school system all together. And these are employees throughout our system, and it's not necessarily for them that are going to become principals. It's just a leadership program, and that will help them within their classroom. And this is like I said, this is the sixth cohort that's gone through, and it's really very exciting because during this they get to have a real good opportunity to learn about our place, Anne Arundel County Public Schools, in the community as a whole, and what our impact is. And I think that the more people who understand that part of the side of the business, it really benefits us, because they get to see the whole big picture and what a great impact we have on our county. I also had an opportunity to go down and visit Chesapeake High School's signature information management program, and I'd like to thank the principal, Mr. Gorski, or acting principal, Mr. Gorski, the signature program facilitator, Melissa Badgedeck, and students Justin, Emily, Emma, Caitlin, and Abby, who talked about their program and their excitement. Unfortunately, I was taken into their broadcast room that the kids didn't even know they had. I didn't even know they had it. And their decrepit little equipment there. So we're working on ways to partner up some people to be able to bring that piece together so that these kids can use the broadcasting and part of that piece of their information management together. Again, with the STEM, with Miss Nally, and in all of our high schools, in our CAT Center, our Phoenix Center, all high schools have students that are recognized to that. And the ability, and when she talks about crying every year, it's like, I got to find my tissues, because it really is very touching. And I think it's really a great way, because some of these teachers would never know. I mean, one was a middle school teacher last year and this year as well, and would not have known the impact that person that they had on that child. It was great. And of course, the volunteer tea, which we had, like, I think, was it like 800 people who attended. It's phenomenal to see so many people who are invested in our school system and want to make sure that we have the #1 school system. So thank you.
Ms. Chaudhry?
Recently, I got to attend the North Anne Arundel Education Awards Dinner in Glen Burnie, and I went with a couple of my board members as well as Dr. Arlotto, and that was a wonderful experience, because we got to honor and recognize some of our teachers in the county. And then on May 11th and May 6th, there was 2 budget hearings that the county council held, and the May 6th one I attended, and I was, I guess, inspired, because I got to see some people speak on behalf of what they thought was important in the budget. And so on May 11th, I spoke and I gave a testimony on behalf of the board. And on behalf of the Board of Education regarding what I thought was important, and that was keeping our budget with its amendments. Yep.
Dr. Arlato.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You all have heard me talk many times about the wonderful people that are Anne Arundel County Public Schools. I think we've got fabulous facilities. I think we're very lucky that we continue to build programs on behalf of children where they can really begin to shine and reach and go beyond their potential. But in the end, it's people that make those buildings and those programs work. And anytime I can get the chance to tell the story about our people, I think it's important, and I'm going to continue to do that. I want to thank and recognize and tell one of those stories tonight. Olivia Weathers is the chief custodian at Lithcomb Elementary, and she's here this evening. Last week, she noticed that it was a second grade student, Grayson Greenlee. He was choking while at lunch. She quickly got to Grayson and used the Heimlich maneuver to dislodge a piece of pineapple and clear his airway. When asked about her actions, Olivia simply said, "Once their moms drop them off in the morning, they're my babies." This is a sentiment that we echo and rings true for all of us as educators. Olivia is here with her principal, Fran Nussel, and Grayson and his family. And so we want to recognize them. Olivia, I would like to present you with a certificate of our deep appreciation. So would you, Ms. Nussel, and Grayson and his family please join me and the board up front. How are you? You're doing well. Awesome.
You still eat time?
Yes, exactly.
We're so glad you're okay. Was it kind of scary? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Next time you'll probably cut your pineapples
You
just
didn't
a
know
little
about it
smaller.
till right. Good job. Good job. And you all didn't know about it until it was all over. Yeah. Great. Scary for him. Great. Very good. Hi. What are you, like in 6th grade now? No? Okay. Good. Well, we're going to stand up here and get a, okay, get a picture. Stand here in the middle.
You can get the picture too. Yes, absolutely. You get the picture. Come on. Yeah, okay, I got you. I was supposed to go home before this. I understand.
2-hour delay on the tarmac.
There we go. Big smiles, everybody. Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you. What's that? That's it.
I just had a couple of things to add for school and community highlights. On May 8th, I had the chance to go to Chesapeake Arts Center for a veteran documentary showcase with our Annapolis High School performing visual arts students. And for those of you that haven't heard about this project, a group of our students got to work with the hospice of the Chesapeake, and they got to know some veterans from World War II as well as the Vietnam War. Some who were in hospice and some who were volunteers at the hospice center, and they documented their journey and everything that they learned. And the students shared that evening how history had come to life for them. They'd been studying these wars, and they really hadn't seen them as real until they had a chance to talk to these veterans. And what they discovered and what they were able to document in the film was that so many of our Vietnam vets had come back and were not well received One gentleman on the film said that he was spit on, he'd never been thanked for his service, and that he noticed that veterans were treated much differently now. But back then, they had never been thanked. And what the Hospice of the Chesapeake has been doing is an honor salute. As the gentlemen are kind of near death, they bring in these volunteer military, some from our academies and some of the volunteer vets, to thank them and present them with a certificate for their service and to honor everything they had done for our country. And the students got a chance to film this and see this happening live, and it was just a very powerful evening and a powerful documentary and just a really neat project with our school system and the Hospice of the Chesapeake. So I believe it's going to be online, or if it isn't already. So it will be. So we'll get the links out so people can watch it and kind of celebrate that achievement. And the only other thing that hasn't already been mentioned is on May 14th, I had a chance to attend the CAT South Awards and just honor our students who had completed some of our career programs and who are ready to launch either going to college or going right into the workplace in some much needed fields. So that was a really nice event. The next item on the agenda is 2.07, the CRASC report.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Dr. Alato, and members of the board. My name is Molly Fitzpatrick, and I'm a sophomore at Broadneck High School and the secretary of the Chesapeake Regional Association of Student Councils. Jacob is not giving the report tonight because he, along with 25 other student leaders of Anne Arundel County, is attending the Hugh O'Brien Leadership Seminar. This 4-day event brings together students from all over the state to recognize their leadership talents and apply them to become effective, ethical leaders in their home, school, workplace, and community. On Tuesday, May 22nd, Chesapeake High School is hosting the Maryland Association of Student Councils May Exec Staff Meeting. This will be the final meeting where former CRASC President Kara Ritterpush will preside over MASC, and I feel like we need to acknowledge that Kara has been a pillar of our organization for the past 6 years. She's held 4 elected positions in CRASC and is serving as a statewide president this past year. I'm only a sophomore, and I've been looking up to Kara for such a long time. And I speak for all of us when I say we're going to miss her so much. Later that week, on Friday the 29th, CRASC will elect a new team of officers to take the reins of the 2015-2016 school year. This event is also being hosted by Chesapeake High School, and their advisor, Ms. Victoria Katona, deserves a warm thank you and maybe a gift card. Next time we report to you, we will introduce our new officer team. And thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of the students of Anne Arundel County.
Item 2.08, the PTA report.
Good evening, President Korbelak, Vice President Nally, Dr. Alato, members of the board. I'm Pam Bukowski, President of the Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs. Our final General membership meeting was held Monday, May 18th at Annapolis High School. The main event consisted of a panel patterned after the Not My Child presentation at AACC in March. Presented by the County Office of Constituent Services, the panel discussion addressed the climbing heroin addiction epidemic which is permeating our county and impacting the youth and families in many of our schools. The panel, facilitated by Nancy Schrum from the County Executive's Office, included a parent, a prevention specialist, mobile crisis team leader, and a member of the Anne Arundel County Police. The month of May is always a busy time for all of us. Spring concerts, art showcases, AP assessments, proms, IB assessments, sports teams engaged in final games or matches, end of the year park assessments, last PTA meetings of the year, HSA assessments, evaluations, ratings, final exams, graduations. Completion of these opportunities provide us with reasons to celebrate, but continue to remind us we must work hard in our collective role as advocate. PTA was represented on the agenda at the County Council public budget hearings, adding to the pleas of other speakers that the County Council fully fund or even feel free to exceed Dr. Alato's budget. Dr. Alato, Ms. Chaudhry, and representatives from AEL, TAC, SAAC, and CRASC spoke eloquently and passionately about examples of excellence in our county schools, staff, programs, buildings, technology, and student achievement, but reminded the councilmen that continued and sustained excellence comes at a cost. Stakeholders ranging from children in the primary grades through high school, parents, teachers, support staff, coordinators, and community partners provided personal testimony, reminding all in attendance that our children and youth deserve a first-class education, which necessitates a strong infrastructure, programs to develop and challenge our 80,000 students, and resources to attract new and retain current, highly effective leaders, professionals, paraprofessionals, and other employees providing support and services. We urge all who value excellence in education to continue to contact members of the Anne Arundel County Council to share your stories, demonstrating that you are willing, just as PTA is, to speak for every child with one voice. And thank you to the Board of Education for this continuing opportunity as PTA to speak for every child with one voice.
Thank you. We'll now have the public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on today's agenda may offer testimony during this public comment portion of the meeting. Speakers will be allotted 3 minutes each, and the board asks that comments remain civil and appropriate for the various audiences that may be watching or viewing the meeting. Student-specific and personnel matters are confidential and cannot be discussed in this forum. This time is intended for speakers to voice their opinion and not necessarily as a question and answer period. Speakers may pose questions, but answers will be counted toward the 3-minute allotment. For the record, please give your name before speaking, and handouts should be given to the board assistant. I will call those who have completed cards first. We have 5: Robert Silkworth, Diana Peckham, Ben Barrett, Terry Heckler, and Stacy Barrett.
Good evening, President Korblock, Vice President Nally, Dr. Alata, distinguished board members. My name is Robert Silkworth, and I'm a teacher at North County High School. I'm here this evening as Vice Chair of the High School Concerns Committee to provide testimony concerning the decision on May 6th to approve the calendar for 2015 and 2016, which includes a dramatic change for the semester break. Final exams for the first semester will take place on January 19th through the 22nd. The following Monday has been designated a non-working day for teachers. The semester break will therefore consist of only one teacher workday, Tuesday the 26th. As an experienced high school teacher, I can tell you that it is stressful and honestly probably not possible to complete all of the tasks in that one day without grading on your own time. Frankly, for many teachers, it is difficult to complete these tasks in 2 days. These tasks include grading, final exams, and preparing for the first day of semester 2. Teachers are obligated to plan outside of the work week. However, we are not required to grade exams and perform other tasks outside of the work week. The creation of this non-teacher work day sends a message to all high school teachers to get the job done on your own time if necessary. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we always get the job done regardless of the circumstances. This change somewhat is the same as the traditional non-teacher workday, which occurs every year at the beginning of the first week of school on that Friday, which is not a teacher workday. Many teachers are in schools on that day, which is a day off, because they didn't have sufficient time to get ready for their classes, and they're very eager to do so. If you were to calculate the dollar amount of free time for that Friday alone, it would be in the thousands of dollars. It has become somewhat of a tradition, one that I have never really liked and personally choose not to do. I choose to attend the TAC picnic to meet with my professional colleagues, and many of you all do the same, and we thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not want to see a new tradition started as this one-day semester break with a non-student teacher day sandwich between semesters. Many of my colleagues feel that this is unfair because of the workload ramifications, but more importantly, it is unfair to the students we serve. Lesson planning in today's world is much more than it has ever been. The preparation for student-centered and challenging activities does involve collaboration with our teams, and it does take precious time. At North County High School, we have in my mind, one of the best groups of teachers. They work and plan well together, and I believe that all Anne Arundel County High School teachers are just as dedicated. Our teachers already spend hours and hours of their time off the clock. It would be nice to have a 3-day weekend in between semesters. For most of us, that will not happen, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to do what we have to do to get the job done. As you know, my approach to any issue is always a collaborative one. On this issue, I do now understand some of the rationale behind it. However, I also understand the implications that it surely will have. Ladies and gentlemen, I clearly understand as well the need for parent conferences. That needs to happen and needs to happen right away. I don't have the time this evening to provide recommendations, which I normally do, ladies and gentlemen, and therefore I would like to invite any board member to our next High School Concerns meeting or any other time when we can get together, because working together, I feel confident that we can find solutions to the parent conference issue as well as the issue at hand, the need for 2 days between semesters. Thank you.
Good evening, President Korbelak, board members, Dr. Arlotta. My name is Diana Peckham. I'm a teacher of 39 years experience, and I'm the chairperson of the High School Concerns Committee, which I've led for 10 years. In that 10 years' time, we have had multiple discussions about two topics of time and workload. Planning time has long been a concern for elementary teachers, while middle and high school teachers have watched the nibbles of time taken away for duties, programs, professional development, meetings, and more meetings. Those nibbles just became a gigantic bite. Workload has been an issue for many years at all levels of instruction. I know, as a member of more task forces and committees than I can count, including the High School Scheduling Committee, the Academic and Strategic Initiative Task Force, the Teachers Advisory Committee, the Superintendent's Teachers Advisory Committee, the Planning Time Task Force, and negotiations over multiple years, I have heard and I have offered data and pleas for lessening the demands on teacher time. I have heard your responses and repeated acknowledgments that something needs to be done to address this, but nothing has been done. Only more plans, initiatives, and programs have been piled on the plates of teachers at all levels. Teachers have considered the implementation and consequences of your vote to support the calendar change. Teachers are concerned because how can they possibly schedule parent conferences for their student caseload into a 7.5-hour school day? Data from across several schools in various content areas says that most high school teachers are carrying caseloads of 160 to 200 students. I have 208 this semester. That's a drop from the 210 I had last semester. There is no way to schedule a meeting of more than 2.8 minutes per parent, not allowing for transition times. And even if only a third of those parents showed, it would still allow no more than a 9.5-minute meeting. High schools have parent conferences all the time. I've had meetings at 6:45 a.m., in the middle of the day during my planning period, and at the end of the day at 3:30 to accommodate parents. We have email, phone calls, and guidance contacts. Parents can reach us whenever they want. You voted to give teachers 1 day to do the following: grade final papers and make up work from the marking period and semester, grade final exams with their required essays and benchmarks with their 1 or 2 essays, enter all grades into Power Teacher and scan benchmarks, finalize grades and exams, print out the grade sheets for administration, complete makeup exams for absentee students who now only have 1 day to make up those grades, grade, scan, record, change grade forms and enter those to administration. Collaborate with fellow teachers for new semester courses. Collect all the textbooks and complete the obligation forms for the main office. Get textbooks for next semester. Write, revise syllabi and lessons for the first days of class. Print off all the needed forms and lessons on printers that are less than 70% reliable, with multiple staff all doing the same thing at the same time. And that's to say nothing of the additional requirements that special ed teachers have for revisions, explorations, goal assessment evaluations, sign-off from co-teachers, DCs, and facilitators, printing out their IEPs and mailings. It is impossible to build and retain a system of greatness that has a revolving door of educators who realize that their pleas for more planning time, fewer meetings will continue to be ignored, that the pile of workload will only continue to grow and grow. They will realize that their lives have a personal dimension which should be respected and kept healthy, that their marriages and their own children are worth as much as the students in the classroom. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ben Barrett, and I am the current Student Government Association President for Chesapeake Bay Middle School. I would like to start by thanking the board for their time this evening. The issue that I would like to present to the board today is the issue of the open classroom environment at Chesapeake Bay Middle School. I am aware that there is a countywide initiative for enclosing schools with open space environments. Further, my understanding is that there is currently no date for these renovations for CBMS. While I have attended Chesapeake Bay Middle School, I have watched as renovations were made to Bodkin Elementary, an already beautiful school located down the hill from our facility. I witnessed renovations to Chesapeake High School just next to us. Additionally, we have housed students from other schools as their facilities were renovated, yet our school remains forgotten. I have been bothered by the state of despair at my school for the 3 years that I have attended. I have heard from numerous others that they were also more than bothered by the current situation. Having discussed this with the school administration, we determined that we would have an opportunity to bring the issue before the board today. In order to illustrate the true level of frustration with this issue in the community, I conducted a survey. I sent an online survey out to my middle school and the elementary schools that feed into the middle school. The survey has only been up for a week. In this brief time, the preliminary results are conclusive. I have learned that the current environment at CBMS is not just a problem for me or a small group of people, but the teachers, parents, the surrounding community, and the student body. I plan on keeping the survey open for the remainder of the year and plan on sending each of you the complete results at the conclusion of the survey. As you can see in more detail on the presentations that I handed out, many people stated that their concerns with open classrooms were the distraction and safety issues. Of the many explained responses that I received that you can see in full on the handout from this survey was, CBMS is an embarrassment as it stands, outdated and forgotten. It is time it becomes a priority in our county. I unfortunately agree with this person. On a daily basis, the environment is a distraction throughout the school, with each classroom competing to be able to hear themselves. This level of distraction is not an insignificant issue, especially given the size of the classrooms. It is discouraging to both students and teachers to have to struggle to be heard and to understand lessons. Less of a daily issue, but equally concerning, is the significant safety concern. Teachers who responded to the safety addressed the safety concern by saying, as a teacher, it is my responsibility to keep my students safe when they are in our schools. Sadly, our world has changed, and open classrooms are no longer safe, period. I am glad to have read this response because, as unfortunate as it is, this response speaks to the present day. Many classrooms don't have doors that don't lock and are connected to one another like a maze. This makes lockdown drills virtually impossible. In some instances, the classrooms are linked and only have one exit. This makes emergency exits unsafe. While I am leaving Chesapeake Bay Middle School at the conclusion of this year, the renovation of CBMS, specifically walls, remain important to me. I feel strongly enough about this issue to come here this evening, and it isn't just me. The teachers of the middle school, the parents of the students at the middle school, the surrounding community, and the student body of Chesapeake Bay Middle School all agree. Our school needs renovation. Our school needs walls, now. Thank you. If there are no other questions, I would like to ask the board, what are the next steps that we need to take to make this happen?
I was just going to ask, Ben, if you and your your colleagues at the school and your teachers have completed our online survey for our facilities study. The link that came out through ConnectEd. Bob, is it still live? Till when? Today's the last day?
I did.
Okay.
But it doesn't address all of the concerns that we have.
Right.
And it specifically doesn't address where our school stands in that.
The company that's doing our study, and the results will be out early in the fall, they're the ones asking for input of what they should be looking for when they're out here surveying our schools. So it's important to say, come look at Chesapeake Bay.
I was going to say it would be nice for them to come take a look.
Yeah. They'll be looking at every school. Mrs. Ritchie?
They come into every school. They also have the data from 10 years ago, but they also have a public hearing on May 28th at 6:30 at North County, excuse me. And that's an opportunity as well to be able to address specifically the Chesapeake Bay Middle School.
Dr. Arlotto.
So Ben, this is good stuff, right? Way to take charge. Way to have some leadership. This is great.
Thank you.
So I think you've done some of your research, right? So you know, I think there was a total of, and I've got to look at my numbers, there was a total of 35, with 35 buildings across the county that had open space classrooms. At one point, it was an innovation in education. I say that tongue-in-cheek a little bit, but at one point in our world in education, it was an innovation in education. We're learning that walls work better. So we're in agreement with you. So over the process of time, since 2008, we've completed 17 of those 35 schools.
Okay.
We have several that are underway now, and Glen Burnie High School, which has got open space and 6 different buildings, is the next big project for us, multi-million-dollar project, and that will be beginning this summer. We'll begin to enclose the spaces in those buildings at Glen Burnie High School. You're right, Chesapeake Bay Middle, as well as 4 others, are still on that list. And they will eventually, we will get to those. Now we have this, as President Korbelak mentioned, we have this facility study going on, and part of what they'll be looking at is not only the large facility, but internally, and they'll be looking at those, certainly those schools that have open space enclosures. Your voice will absolutely, it'll be important for you to get your voice out there at that public meeting with the MGT group. And I think, again, I want to applaud you. This is leadership. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. Yes, we would like to know where we stand on this list, and if possible, we would like to be bumped up. We have waited for 10 long years, and we are starting to honestly run out of patience.
Fair enough. I appreciate your patience for the past 10 years.
Thank you.
So I do. I appreciate your so I haven't been around 10 years with this study, but so you and I are both waiting. I can't give you an exact date when we're going to start that project. First, it's going to depend on where on the list it falls when the new MGT study comes out. And then secondly, it depends on funding. Okay. We as a school system are dependent. We don't make money. We have to ask the funders from the state and from our local jurisdiction, our county council, our county executive, to give us money in order to do construction projects. Okay, right. And that includes building buildings like we're doing at Severna Park High School, or doing renovations, minor or major renovations within a school. That could include a roof repair, or HVAC repair, or electrical upgrades. All those things fall under that process. So we have to, each year we have to ask for a facilities money that we get from our funders, which is our local government, and partially from the state. And so I couldn't give you, I wish I could give you a date and say we're going to start on X date and X year, but I won't know until first we get the MGT study finished, and then we see how the funding, and if we had been funded through our entire project list for the past 10 years, it would have been done already. But funding doesn't come through every year the way we request it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Terry.
Terry Heckler. I am a parent, advocate, former student of Chesapeake Bay Middle School, formerly 2 schools, Bayview and Windmill. I attended Bayview. I hold here today a yearbook from 1978 when I attended. Yes, that was 37 years ago. In this book, it holds pictures of classrooms that are the same today. There are no changes. It's really sad. I'd like to know why. Our school is in need of walls for our classrooms. Our students come from closed classrooms in elementary schools to a middle school that not only is going to be a challenge for them, but a change to have classrooms without walls. This is inconsistent for students learning and a huge distraction for them. The noise level in the school during classroom teaching is very difficult for anyone to concentrate. Not only will they have to get used to this for 3 years, but then they will leave to attend Chesapeake High to find that they have walls. Again, another change, and now a challenge to go back to learning with walls. How confusing is this? Our middle school always seems to fall through the crack. Please consider this request to keep our children at Chesapeake Bay Middle in the best learning environment they could benefit from. Keep the consistency in our schools, which I know you would want for your children. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stacy Barrett. I'm here to support Ben. So we've been talking about funding for the schools, and we've heard a little bit about the renovation funding. I've been reading a lot about early education and the funding that's gone into renovations or additions for early education in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And there's a lot of evidence to support the importance of early education. There are also multiple studies that provide evidence that middle school determines the success or failure of a student's education. That is, middle school is the make it or break it time. Our middle school, Chesapeake Bay Middle School, is in shambles. At best, it's an unsafe and distracting environment. Anne Arundel County Public Schools is mandated to serve the students who are already in our school system. I ask, how can we vow to serve more students, that is, take on pre-K and other students, when we are not even appropriately serving those who are already in our system? So I ask that you look at the funding, look at those resources, and try to find the resources to make those renovations earlier rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you all. I don't have any additional completed cards. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay, we'll move on to action items. 4.01, administrative personnel appointments. Dr. Olato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that the personnel listed on the attached sheets be promoted and or appointed.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 601. Item 4.02 is an information item. Policy use of personal electronic communication devices by students, JCO. This is a second reading for this policy, and there were no public comments after being posted on the website for 30 days.
That's correct.
Are there any board comments or questions? Mrs. Ritchie?
Is there, and I don't know, and this is probably way out of your realm. Is there any way to tell if anybody even looked at this policy? I mean, maybe there's people that are looking at it and go, I mean, I can't believe that nobody would have any kind of comment when we're talking about electronic devices in schools. You know, I mean, so is there any way to find out if anybody's even looked at the policy?
I don't think, and
I don't
you are
think so.
correct, this is out of my
Yeah, I
realm.
know.
I do not think that there's a way to track, you know, if anyone even clicked on the website where it's posted to see it. I don't have a good answer for you. I
Well,
don't know
because
how
that's very disappointing to me. You know, as somebody who has worked really hard to encourage people to pay attention to policies, as people who've been on the policy committee, you know, and things like that. And I know we eventually vet this through, like the CAC and the PTAs and stuff. But the thing is that nobody seems to be concerned that how we're going to use these, or, you know, I mean, of all these 80,000 students, it's just baffling and kind of very disappointing is really what it is.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Item 4.03 is also an information item, policy DBK, classification of fund balances. And this is a second reading for this policy, and there were no public comments for this one either.
correct.
Any board questions or comments? Any? Okay. Any public comment? All right. I guess we're done with policy. Item 4.04 is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Olato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the Odenton Elementary School third-party project playground equipment.
Second.
Are there any board comments or questions? Mrs. Birch?
I would just like to commend the Odenton Elementary School community for all of the hard work that they have done to raise this money. I know all my colleagues agree that we wish that our PTAs did not have to do this, but since our funders repeatedly have told us that they will not fund replacement playgrounds at elementary schools, unfortunately it falls upon the school communities to raise money to do things like this. I know that the community has worked very hard to raise this money, and I just want to tell you all that you've done a fabulous job, and we're very proud and grateful for everything that you've done.
Is there any public comment? All right, all those in favor? Oh, could you tell us?
Lisa Seaman Crawford, Director of Facilities.
Tracy Ahern, Principal at Odenton Elementary.
And Brian Patrick, President of the PTA at Odenton Elementary.
Thank you, guys. All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0.
Thank you.
I just put that one away. Item 4.05, fourth quarter fund transfer. This is an information to action item. Do I have a motion to move this from information to action? Second. All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlato, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend the approval of the fourth quarter fund transfer for fiscal year 2015 operating budget to be submitted to the county government.
Do we have a brief presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. For the record, Alex Checkno, Chief Operating Officer, here to bring item 4.05, which is before you for both information and action. Customarily at this time, at the end of our fiscal year, each and every year, we bring to the board a report of essentially revenues that we've accrued through the course of the year that were not originally anticipated at the beginning of the year. The exhibit that's up on the board tonight depicts that from the sources, both restricted and unrestricted for the federal government, we accrued approximately $5.8 million in excess of what was originally anticipated. From the state government, $5.2 million. From local sources, $198,000. There was a $3.2 million decrease in restricted revenues primarily associated with our health care. So the net effect, inclusive of $200,000 for food and nutrition services, is $8.3 million. As it was alluded to at the outcome, this, upon favorable action of the board, will be passed along to the county council so that they can introduce an ordinance to support the appropriation authority, and it's my understanding that it will likely be voted on the 15th of June meeting by the county council. With that, we'll take any questions you might have.
I don't see any board questions. Do we have any public comment? All right, all those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. Item 5.01 is a review item, the strategic plan update on community engagement.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Tudor, Senior Manager of the Office of School and Family Partnership, and we're here tonight to give you an update on Indicator 13 Community Outreach. But first, I'd like the rest of the people on the panel to introduce themselves.
I'm Helen Matioski, the principal at Hillsmere Elementary.
Chris Gordon, Assistant Principal, Hillsmere Elementary.
Good evening. Anthony Alston, Executive Director of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement.
For the past 5 years, the Office of School and Family Partnerships, together with schools in the Meade Cluster and the Glen Burnie North County clusters, has held back-to-school expos on the 2 Saturdays in August before school opens. Partnering with the I-5 Church and Full Gospel Emancipation Life Center in the Meade Cluster and with Abundant Life Church in the Glen Burnie North County clusters, we are able to offer a full day of family fun to celebrate the start of another successful school year. Students receive a starter kit of school supplies and are able to meet and chat with their principals and other staff members who are on hand to welcome them back to school. In addition, families have the opportunity to enjoy a petting zoo, moon bounce, face painting, free food, and countless other games and activities. The Arundel Cluster also sponsors a back-to-school event at the Wall Chapel Shopping Center just before school starts, bringing school administration and staff to the shopping center to greet families as they are shopping for school supplies. All of these events are excellent ways to start the school year off on a positive note. Clusters also sponsor community events during the school year. Here are just a few examples. The Northeast Community Celebration was held this past November at the brand new Riviera Beach McDonald's. The store had recently been torn down and rebuilt. Cluster principals felt it was important to hold the event there as a way of communicating how much they appreciated the support they have always received from local businesses and community organizations. Additionally, the event provided a means for Northeast principals to greet families and provide them with information about the schools. The Chesapeake Cluster has held a health and safety fair at Chesapeake High School for a number of years and has always counted as a successful way to unite the entire community around the issue of wellness. It has become so popular that this year they are joining with one of their partners, Friends of Downs Park, and will be holding the event there at Downs Park. Each school in the cluster will be sponsoring a table on themes such as green schools, environmental awareness, and fitness and health. It promises to be a fun day for the whole family. So if you are free, please join them on Saturday, June 6th from 12 to 4 at Downs Park.
Literacy, and specifically early literacy, are priorities for individual schools, for clusters, and for central office departments, each providing a variety of events to encourage reading for youngsters and provide guidance for families who wish to support a love of reading in their children. Many elementary schools welcome preschoolers into the school environment for Toddler Tuesdays, held weekly. The little ones and their families become familiar with the school library and classrooms, with the staff members, and with academics designed for them. Toddlers engage in math and reading activities, and their parents are able to learn strategies to practice at home to help foster and develop the love of reading with the materials that they are provided. In addition, the Office of Equity and Accelerated Student Achievement, in partnership with Anne Arundel County Public Libraries, has hosted Read With Me events to invite families into the library where children can listen to stories being read to them, acquire a library card, and leave with prizes. These events allow families to learn about the many opportunities outside the classroom to support reading in the libraries with something engaging for every family member. While these events are held at schools and public libraries, many schools take reading directly into their neighborhoods. Helen Matioski, the principal at Hillsmere Elementary, provides opportunities in the community center itself.
Our journey to building our school family started during the summer. We made visits to 4 different neighborhoods, bringing treats for the children and a little excitement for the upcoming school year. We do these meets and greets to set the tone and create a positive fever for the upcoming school year. We also tried to close the gap from the schoolhouse to our Hornets house by going into the Robinwood Community Center by conducting parent-teacher conferences, holding literacy afternoon reads with our future Hornets, as well as hosting 3 chat and chews with families. We jumped rope, chatted with parents and families, as well as played a bit of basketball. Families seem to appreciate the outreach and building relationships with the school staff members in their own community and outside on the basketball court.
As you know, the number of international families in Anne Arundel County Public Schools has increased greatly in the past few years. They bring tremendous strengths to their schools and are eager to become part of the school life and to see their children succeed. Many schools are reaching out to their immigrant families to provide a welcoming environment to celebrate their cultures and to inform them about academic expectations and resources available to them. Several schools sponsors a Noche Latino or Hispanic night where community groups are invited to display resources and talk with families who attend. Often many workshops are also held on these evenings to let families know how they can best support their children academically, socially, and emotionally. Some families have also started hosting events in their homes to encourage families who are new to this country to get to meet other families with similar experiences and cultures.
Other outreach events this year have included an evening for African families held at a Nigerian church in Odenton, a resource fair for Muslim families held at a mosque in Gambles, a kindergarten readiness workshop held at a Korean church in Hanover, a Vietnamese parent night at Hebron Harmon Elementary, and a forum for international families at Meade High School. Schools tailor these events to the needs of their families, but their purpose is the same: to welcome all families to their school and provide the support they need to ensure that their children are successful. We thank you for this opportunity to share a few examples of the ways in which our schools are reaching out to the communities they serve, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have for us at this time.
Mrs. Ritchie?
Thank you. And I've been privileged to be able to attend a lot of some of these events and stuff, and they are very well received. And the parents and the students are extremely happy when they get to go and meet their teachers. And then some of the kids who, in some of our challenging neighborhoods and areas, they change schools sometimes, but they're able to come back into the same thing and be able to see some of their other principals and school personnel. So it's always very exciting. It's always exciting to see the partners that are involved with that as well. And it's a true collaborative effort on part of the community and the school system and our community partners, such as Department of Social Services and terms like that with the backpacks and all. And I'm hoping, because there were many schools that were not answered, many clusters that were not mentioned in this piece right here. So I'm hoping that they're doing some stuff they just maybe forgot to tell you all. So hopefully they'll remember to tell us.
No, they told us they're doing it. We just didn't have the time to tell you what
No.
every one of them's doing.
Well,
But
and I guess
they are
maybe
doing
it's, because see, I keep seeing the same ones pop up, and so I don't necessarily always get to other areas. I mean, I try, but sometimes I like to sleep in on Saturday. I'm sorry, but that's just that's the reality of life there. So, and so it's nice to know what's happening in some other areas, and maybe we can just send it to us like an email or something. Let us just know what's happening in some of the other clusters as well. And thank you. Oh, and one question. You did mention the one at Chesapeake. I happen to live close to that. Do you know what time it starts? Did they mention that by any chance? I think it's like 10 or probably or something like that.
12 to 4.
Oh, 12 to 4? Oh, good. I get to sleep there. I put the wrong time on here. I'd have been there 2 hours early. Okay, thank you very much.
Is there any public comment? Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
The next review item is 5.02, the Tyler Heights Elementary School changes for the 2015-16 school year.
Good evening, President Korbalak, Vice President Nally, Dr. Arlotto, and members of the board. For the record, my name is Chris Truffer. I'm Regional Assistant Superintendent for the Annapolis and Broadneck clusters.
I'm Alex Sheknovich, Chief Operating Officer, Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
And this evening, we just wanted to take a few minutes to provide some overview information regarding the plan to address at least some of the overcrowding issues currently existing at Tyler Heights Elementary. As you know, currently Tyler Heights has a state-rated capacity of 442 students. The official enrollment at this time is approximately 602, with the projected enrollment for next year of over 630 at approximately 637. Currently, right now, there are 13 portable classrooms at Tyler, the most of any school in Anne Arundel County. As you know, the redistricting process was followed, and ultimately it was decided to direct Dr. Arlotto and his staff to develop a plan to help alleviate at least some of the crowding issues at Tyler Heights. I do want to mention also, before I go further, that this information was provided at a parent meeting last night to families in the Tyler Heights community. The current plan involves both program and space reallocations and involved both administrations at Tyler Heights and at Georgetown East. The impact on Georgetown East will be explained in just a minute. Some of the considerations that we looked at when we were creating this plan to alleviate the crowding was to attempt to create as little disruption for families as possible at Tyler Heights. We did obviously examine space at Tyler Heights. We did extensive walkthroughs of that facility and also nearby schools, and we were looking at making changes that were necessary to maximize the efficient use of the space currently at Tyler. We also wanted to reduce, to the extent possible, the amount of time that students spend in portable classrooms, and we do need to emphasize that the plan that's being explained this evening is only effective for the 2015-2016 school year. with considerations for future planning done when we get into next year. The plan basically consists of the movement of 3 pre-kindergarten classrooms from Tyler Heights to Georgetown East Elementary. At this time, there are approximately 60 students now enrolled as a part of the Tyler Heights pre-kindergarten program. We will be providing bus transportation. We do have a plan in place where we will attempt to make the stops as convenient as possible in the community. We're also planning on making a stop directly in front of Tyler Heights, so families who have students who are in other grade levels at Tyler can have a more convenient place to drop their pre-kindergarten child for that ride to Georgetown. We also looked at start times of Georgetown East, and we will be moving that start time to 9:10 to provide more time for parents who wish to transport students. Tyler Heights start time will remain at 8:45 as it currently stands. We're also looking at moving an existing ESOL classroom, which is located in the outer annex, to a portable classroom behind the school. And I do need to point out that consideration was given when we looked at how we wanted to configure grade levels to attempt to cluster grade levels together as much as possible. That reason being that we want teachers to be able to work as closely together as possible to facilitate collaborative planning, etc. So we're looking at a situation where we would have 4 fourth grade classes moving from portable classrooms where they're currently located to the annex, 3 fifth grade classes moving from the portable classrooms to the main building, and I'll explain something about the 3rd grade in just a moment. We will be looking at moving a portable bathroom facility brought onto the campus. Mr. Shaknovich can speak to that a little bit more, but the plan is to have that installed and ready for use in the upcoming school year. As we went through, there was an ongoing examination of space and classroom allocations based on current projected enrollment figures. We do need to emphasize that changes might be necessary based on enrollment fluctuations throughout the summer that could necessitate different configurations of the numbers of each grade level classrooms that exist. Some other things that we looked at in terms of options were to move kindergarten also to Georgetown East to create more space at Tyler. There simply was not sufficient space currently at Georgetown East to facilitate that movement. We do need to emphasize that the plan is to have the kindergarten addition at Georgetown East for the following school year. Again, any further plans will be reviewed as we get toward the end of 2015-16. We also looked at the possibility of constructing a covered walkway to keep students dry as they're walking in and out of the portables on rainy days. That option was simply too cost prohibitive and time constrained for consideration. There have also been some questions about returning out-of-area students to their home schools. We did have our Office of Student Services conduct an extensive review of the current out-of-area students, and it was deemed that all of the cases of current out-of-area students are legitimate. Transfers were examined, but all students are currently appropriately placed and will remain at Tyler Heights for the upcoming school year. At this time, we are open to taking any questions that you might have regarding any aspects of the plan, either myself or Mr. Shaknovich.
Mrs. Birch?
I actually have a question about the walkway, because at one point we were also told that there was a question about fire safety or fire regulations about what material the covered walkway could be made of. So I don't know if that adds to the cost, if that's the issue. Can you explain what the concern was there?
Certainly. We've got a non-combustible building structure there at the school, and the relocatable classrooms are wood. They're combustible. So the fire code requires that they be separated a certain distance away from the non-combustible structure, as well as a certain distance away from each other, such that if one caught fire, you wouldn't have a conflagration where one jumps from building to building to building. If you created a combustible walkway, you'd essentially create a fuse that would link all these combustible buildings together. So the walkways would have to obviously be able to withstand the weight of the snow load. They would have to be able to withstand the upward pressure of hurricane force winds here in the Mid-Atlantic Chesapeake region, as well as have to be the foundations deep enough into the ground so that they prevent the heave from the frost line, and then finally they couldn't be configured in a way that would promote fire spread from building to building to building. The layout there at Tyler, the geometry as well, Ms. Burge, it's not like they're just in one long row like a zipper. They're kind of spread out at very odd angles, so even the geometry of this space would be quite challenging. And then, as Mr. Truffer mentioned, with the time constraints, beyond the simple design and bidding, we are dealing with the city of Annapolis that's a little notorious for not getting permits done in a timely fashion. So there's a constructability cost angle, there's a procurement angle, and then there's a regulatory aspect to it. So there was a number of reasons that we looked into, and the conditions weren't favorable to being able to introduce that.
Okay. And what do you need to have done to hook up a restroom, an outdoor restroom? What has to be done to accomplish that?
Well, we have to seek permits. The project is currently out to bid. I believe actually the bid is closing tomorrow, so it will come to you likely at your upcoming board meeting. So the system owns one portable classroom unit. It was at Crofton Elementary School for a while. It got moved up to Northeast High School. It's currently down at Southern Middle School supporting Lothian. So it's the bathroom unit that we use to support schools while they're undergoing construction or renovation. Lothian is going to be moving into their building right now. As you know, West Annapolis is safely housed inside of Annapolis Middle School. So for this period of time right now, we don't have a defined home for that bathroom unit. So we went out through the public procurement process. We designed relocating it. We'll have a company move it. They'll have to hook up water, sewer, electric, PA, fire alarm, communication, et cetera, to it, and get all that constructed and permitted and inspected before the start of school. Again, we will need some cooperation from the city of Annapolis to make all that happen.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, ma'am. I just really have two questions, one comment, I guess, because Mr. Truffer turned one of my questions into a comment based off of something that you said. And it was said last night, this is a one-year plan, the 2015-2016 school year. I'm really interested in understanding what the POAM is going to be, the plan of action and milestones, the dates, the timeline for a decision for the 2016-2017 school year, because the earlier we're able to, taking into account enrollments and all those other kinds of things for students, to be able to decide on how we're going to address the 2016-2017 school year, the better it'll be for informing the community at large with what we're going to be doing. We've got the Georgetown East kindergarten edition that you mentioned that's going to be online, but we also have the Eastport elementary school edition that's also going to be adding, I don't know, I think it's 4 classrooms or whatever that is. And we need to be able to continue to focus on how we're going to move this 120% now capacity of students into something that's more conducive. One of the things that you mentioned, though, was that this school's going to be, it's currently at 137% capacity. It'll be at something less than that. But what's the next school in our county? Can anybody tell me what the next school in our county is relative to capacity, over capacity? The closest next school?
We can get you that. Actually, the Education Facility Master Plan that comes to you at the very next meeting will detail out all 79 elementary schools in rank order. So you'll have that data as an action item for you at your very next meeting.
Awesome. So, but this is the greatest that we've got out there that we know by far. 137%.
Currently it is.
Yeah. Okay. And then the last item is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're really only moving Georgetown East 5 minutes relative. Right now, I think they open at 9:05, and they're going to now be opening at 9:10. Is that correct?
I think that's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Webb.
I was curious, are we doing anything to alleviate the backlog we have at lunchtime at Tyler Heights? There seems to be some crowding issues there.
That's going to be up to the principal. So if the principal wants to extend lunch hours, and so we'll work with the principal as she makes decisions about the school year. Staff can be added if they decide to extend the hours, extend the minutes in a lunch period. So those are things that can be worked out within the confines of the principal's decisions and how she runs the school. But we've done that to other schools where they wanted to add time, and we've added staff into that building so they're able to accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say thank you. In less than a month, you guys took input from us and the teachers and principals and your exec team and your staff and parents and the community, and you've already got a plan in place and you've already started to implement it. And I think that's just fantastic. So thank you. Community input.
Yeah, the only one. Oh my gosh. I want to thank the professionals too. Mr. Truffer, everybody, Bob Mosher. I mean, it's amazing. And Mr. Alato and you, Ms. Korblack, and Kevin Jackson and Salon Webb for coming last night to Tyler Heights. It was a good meeting. I thought it was a good meeting. And I really appreciated how hard Dr. Alato worked and all the professionals worked on the plan about, moving the 60 kids over to the preschool kids over. I'm Tom Boynton, parent from Tyler Heights. Moving all the kids, the 60 preschool kids over to Georgetown, and being respectful that, certain parents are, walk their kids down to Tyler Heights. There should be a bus stop in front of Tyler Heights because maybe they got two kids going in two different places. I think I was totally on board with that. But if you look at the professionals' numbers, Tyler Heights next year is going to be at 637. I mean, that's the public schools numbers. And you take away 60 kids, that's still 577 kids. The state rated capacity is 442. And to answer your question about which is the next most crowded school, it's Edgewater at 120%. If you look at the numbers and you do the math, Tyler Heights goes from 137% of capacity this year to 131% of capacity next year. I mean, it's something. It's not the greatest. And Dr. Arlato apologized last night, and I really appreciate it. So this is not the best thing. It's what he could do at the time. So, at the end of the day, we're still going to have the most overcrowded school in the county. That's just the facts. And the whole idea of, I just wanted to say this about, the symptoms of overcrowding are portables, kids missing lunches or shorter lunches. So to me, we're kind of treating the symptoms of overcrowding by bringing in a big bathroom unit and stuff like that. We are dealing with overcrowding as much as we can, given what we've been given, but the school's still going to be overcrowded. So a lot of respect was paid to the parents who still want to walk down the hill and go to Tyler Heights, and God bless them. If they want to keep doing that, it's fine. There's a handful of parents, myself included, even though I love the school, I can see that the school's getting a little overcrowded. Oh, not getting overcrowded. I can see the strain on the teachers. I can see the strain on the administrators. I don't want to find out in 5 or 4 years when my kid goes to middle school, even though she's a straight A student now, that a teacher comes and goes, oh, she's 6 months behind in math because I thought the school was okay. Everything was copacetic. They're only human. They can only do so much. So I asked Dr. Arlau last night, can we have a limited self-redistricting of people? I'll just be another minute. I'll wrap it up quick. A limited self-redistricting, even if it's the third graders who are outside in the portables, ask those parents, if you want to put your kid in another school, we'll consider it, just because the school's overcrowded. Dr. Arlato explained that, it's a hardship thing, and under the legal parameters of hardship, as you guys define it, it wasn't part of it. That other schools were going to go, like Edgewater, would go, oh, we're 120% over capacity. Why can't we move? Didn't we all recognize at the top of this that this school was exceptionally overcrowded, crazily overcrowded? That's why we did the redistricting committee. The hardship was the overcrowding. So if you have a handful of parents who want to move the kids out, Maybe you get four portable classrooms instead of 5 next year for 3rd grade. You could target it just for the 3rd grade people. It's a matter of political will. I know you don't want to tell the people at Edgewater that they can't move their kids. I understand the political implications of that, but Tyler Heights is still going to be exceptionally overcrowded next year. I'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
All right. But just one last thing. Imagine, other than Dr. Arlotto, how many times I've been in front of you guys, you people, the board. All my politicking, advocating, cajoling, testifying, losing sleep, gets my daughter, who's going to be in 3rd grade next year at Tyler Heights, out in a portable. Imagine how that feels. Everything you guys told me to do. Stay, respectful, strong, kind, advocate, and my kid's going to be in a portable next year. I'm not looking for special dispensation from me, but I think it would be a good thing if you respect the people who wanted to leave as much as the people who, respect the people who want to stay. Respect the people who want to leave a bit as much as you want to respect the people who want to stay. Thank you very much.
Is there any other public comment on this item? Okay, thank you. The last items are consent items. Award of contracts. Do I have a motion to bundle 6.01 through 6.03 and move them from information to action? All those in favor? We now have an action item. Dr. Arlotto, your recommendation.
Yes, ma'am. I recommend that contracts as listed on the agenda 6.01, 6.02, and 6.03 be awarded.
All those in favor? Motion passes 7-0-0. I just have a couple of announcements before we go back into closed session. The next Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, June 3rd at 10 a.m. The next Board Policy Committee meeting is Wednesday, June 10th at 8:30 a.m. And the next Board Budget Committee meeting is Wednesday, June 10th at 12:30 p.m. in Conference Room 2A. Mrs. Nally.
I'd like to move that we go into closed session to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter.
Favor? We're now in closed session and this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.